much. Let's discuss the president's legal road ahead. And one of the best to have that conversation with is Shanlon Wu. He's a CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor. Shan, nice to have you on the program.
Good to see you, Martin.
The president is, of course, spending the holidays in Florida, and some of his staff are joining him. If you were currently on the Trump defense team, how would you be advising the president right now?
I would advise him to stop tweeting and let sleeping dogs sleep at the moment. In terms of preparation, I don't know that I would really want him very much involved in the preparation. I would mostly try to keep him quiet so he doesn't end up adding more fuel to the fire and possibly giving more grounds for impeachment through his public statements, primarily via Twitter.
Mm-hmm. You know, I don't think he's going to follow your advice.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
I think you're right.
Senator McConnell is, of course, a key player in the rules for this upcoming trial. And yet, at the same time, he's openly coordinating and working with the White House. And this morning we heard from Republican Senator John Kennedy, who defended what McConnell is doing. And I'm wondering, can you really defend that?
I think there's a way in which they could defend it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him talking to the White House or having some coordination on rules and such. I think the problem here is when you take that statement that he's working with the White House, which is really much more than just working with the White House. He makes it sound like he's completely in lockstep with them, which sounds fishy. But also his statement that he refuses to be impartial to begin with. And I think when you combine those two things, you have a very troubling situation. And that's what's indefensible about their position and about Senator Kennedy trying to defend it. There's a legal way you can parse their position to reconcile it with the oath they're supposed to take, which is to do impartial justice. Mm-hmm. But frankly, they're so arrogant they don't even feel they need to defend it. They simply just ignore the fact that they're supposed to do impartial justice and basically feel they can say or do whatever they want. And I think, you know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. They're taking that lead from the president.
And it does seem almost preordained that the president will be acquitted by the Senate. But that said, what could be the biggest hurdles that face the president in a Senate trial?
I think the biggest hurdles that would face the president would be twofold. First, the legal peril for him really does arise if they were to have witnesses, because were you to have any live witness is very powerful. The ones we've already had were very powerful, but were they to get people like Mulvaney or Bolton, those could really provide very blatant, damaging evidence to him, and that, I think, could raise at least some peril for him, even in the sort of bedrock support he has with the Republican senators. The second aspect of it is that same peril goes to his political liabilities, which is it really places right in the eyes of the American public and the voting public just exactly what he was doing wrong. And that is certainly going to hurt him in the elections, and that probably is the bigger peril that he faces, as well as the fallout for the Republican senators. If they're confronted with this kind of blatant evidence of his wrongdoing, and yet they still vote as a monolithic bloc, I think that raises some questions about what they're really doing.
Well, Mitch McConnell must know this, and that would be one of the primary reasons he would not want witnesses.
Oh, that's absolutely right, Martin. Mitch McConnell does not want witnesses. He does not want documents. Really, Senator McConnell doesn't want anything that even resembles a trial. He would much rather have something that looks like sort of a quasi-appellate argument where he's just looking at a cold record and really doesn't have to deal with any evidence at all. The further away he can stay from that, the better it is.
All right. Well, if the president shuts down his Twitter account on impeachment, I know who gets the credit. Shan.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Shan Wu, have a happy New Year. Thank you.
You too.
We'll be right back.